Alright folks, this is Mrs. Flores and Bandit dropping another video for you today for your independent station for your blended day activities. This is Bandit. We are live from our house. And the only way he's going to stay here on the couch with me is if I feed him goldfish. So, let's get to it quickly. We have been talking about mutations, about the changes that happen in your DNA, and you should have some idea now of things like point mutations and substitutions and frame shifts. And it's great that you know about these mutations, woohoo, good for you. But what happens after the DNA gets mutated? It changes, but what effect does that have long term? What is the end result for the human or the animal or organism that is mutated? That's what we're going to discuss really briefly. Please make sure to follow along on your worksheet handout because there are some questions there that it's going to ask you to answer. You ready, Beans? All right, let's go. So the first thing we need to talk about before we talk about the end goal of these organisms is what types of cells you have in your body. Not all of the cells in your body are the same. You have two types of cells, and take a look on your sheet because it asks you to fill in these answers. The first type of cell is called a somatic cell. Those are your body cells. In Latin, soma means body, and that's just talking about anything that makes up your hands, your toes, your ears, your bones. Any of those cells are considered somatic cells. Your nose, teeth, toes, all of the above. And same thing for Bandit too. Anything that makes up his ears, his nose, his paws, all of those are somatic cells as well. So take a second look at your sheet. If you need to pause, go ahead. Make sure you write it down. The other types of cells that you have in your body, yes you, are called gametes. You may not have heard these before. Sometimes they are called sex cells. Sometimes they're called gametes. It means the same thing. Those are the cells that make up your reproductive parts, So things like sperm and eggs. You should only have one of these in your body, so you either make sperm or eggs, one or the other, and those gametes fuse together to form offspring. Whether it's you or whether it's Bandit or whether it's some other organism, mammal, whatever, whatever it may be. If they have sperm and egg, the goal of those two things is to fuse together to form a full organism. So again, you have two types of cells in your body. Either body cells, somatic cells, or gametes, which are reproductive cells. That's it. Everything you've got is either one of those two. All right, you ready? We're going to go to the next page. You're going to lose all this vital information if you didn't write it down. You ready, Beans? Bandit's ready. Let's go. All right, so think about this for a minute. I know you can't see it, but it says think, think, think. Are you ready for some questions? Do you know the two types of cells in your body? Do you know where to find them? So let's think about it together for a second. Bye, Bandit. He's not amused that I didn't give him any more goldfish. Let's think about it for a second. If you have a change that happens to your body cells, can you pass that on to your offspring? Let's say something terrible happens, you fall out of a tree, your leg is crushed, and they have to remove it in the ER. You have one leg now. Do you pass that on to your offspring? No. It happened to you, and that would be terrible, but that change doesn't get passed on. In the picture there, I have a little gingerbread man showing him missing an arm. So the picture on your right shows someone with skin cancer. Skin cancer is a mutation, and it's a mutation of a body cell, which is your skin. Can you pass that skin cancer onto your offspring? What do you think? Do you think you can pass on that mutation, that change, to your children? The answer is most likely no. Because that change in your body cells did not affect, normally, your gametes, or your sperm and your egg. And only the sperm and the egg have the genetic information that gets passed on to the offspring. So if you dye your hair, guess what? It's not going to get passed on to your kids. If you paint your toenails, guess what? It's not going to be passed on to your kids. If you have some catastrophic accident and you lose limbs, you cannot pass that on to your offspring because those are your body cells. A change to your body cells does not imply that you will pass that on to your offspring because it didn't happen to the DNA inside your gametes, inside the sperm and the egg. Is your brain going now? Take a second, check your sheet. Make sure that you have everything filled out so far. I'm going to go to the next page. So our next question, can you pass on a change that happens in your gametes? This is where things get interesting because your sperm and your egg cells contain the DNA that makes your offspring. Whether it's you, whether it's your pets, they also have sperm and eggs. Only that DNA codes for the offspring, for your child. So only a change in that DNA would be passed on to your gametes. And this happens all the time. We have mutations in DNA all the time that change things. And you have offspring that end up with different characteristics. I'm not trying to say they're good or bad. Just change happens, and that's normal. But only a mutation in your gametes will affect your offspring and be passed down. So, just recap real quick. If you lose an arm, your kids are fine. But changes in your gametes could affect your offspring. So here's your last question, and it's on your sheet. How would you explain this to someone else, like a kid? Kids are really interested in science, but we have to say things in a really simple way. That way they can understand it quickly. Also because their attention span is big. So how would you explain this to a kid? That we have two types of cells in our body, and only one of those can pass on mutations. Look on your sheet, you have a couple of lines. In just a few sentences, how would you explain that to a child? What do you think? All right, good luck. Make sure you fill in the rest of your page. Thanks for watching.